Joining us now, Chad Anderson, CEO of Space Angels. Chad, great to have you as always.
Great to be here.
Branson saying there that it was a magical day. They're now back on Earth, floating around because they're so happy.
Yeah.
But how sustainable do you think space tourism will be in the format that they've got? I mean, $250,000, right?
This is this is. I mean, so this is a monumental achievement, but honestly, it is a long time coming. I mean, for the last 10 years, we've been seeing a lot of new companies coming into play in space for the first time. And Virgin Galactic has been around for that whole 10 years, and so they've been developing this technology for a long time. You heard them say, safety is paramount, and that they're all three of them are going to be flying, and so they feel like they've got a really good handle on the technology, and they've got a good architecture, and they have a lot of people lined up. I know quite a few of them that are on a waiting list to go. So there's a lot of people who want to go at that price point, and as the CEO has said, I mean, it's going to come down over time.
Yeah, some of the people on that list: Justin Bieber, Leonardo DiCaprio, Angelina Jolie. I mean, some of those are the ticket holders for the earliest spots on a Virgin Galactic spacecraft. What do you think is it that they see in this opportunity, and will this ever be an everyday people type of option as well?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned a lot of notable people, but there's a lot. I mean, there's 600 people who have put down money for tickets, and again, I mean, I know a lot of these people, and they're just successful tech entrepreneurs, people that have some money and have always dreamed about going to space, as I imagine these celebrities are as well. So I think we're seeing this human space flight play out in a similar way to the private aviation industry. And in the beginning, I mean, the price was extremely high to go not very far, and it was mostly celebrities and wealthy people taking the first flights.
And I love this from their documents of their presentation materials to compare and to sell and comps, right? I mean, you're thinking about $250,000, which you could spend renting a private island or half of a week of a yacht. I mean, we had Chamath on, who's the chairman now of the new Virgin Galactic here, and he basically said the same thing. It was like, this is where we're kind of going. Yeah. But the risks here, I mean, the 2014 explosion, right, leading to one injury and one death. Do you think that the reward is there to offset the risk that is still a nascent operation?
I think that greater access is a good thing. The human imagination has been captivated by space since the beginning of time. The last 50, 60 years in the governmental space age, certainly. And in the last 10 years, we've seen the barriers to entry come down, and we've seen a lot of new players come in, a lot of new entrepreneurs starting new businesses. There's a lot of competition and innovation, and they are competing on a lot of fronts, including safety. So this is definitely something that they have an eye toward, and I think that all of these companies that are in this space are going to be focused on as well. But it's because we have more people, more competition, more innovation. That's what's driving our future in space, whether it be on the human spaceflight side or satellites, launch vehicles, and the data from it. You
mentioned that competition. Compare them. I mean, Blue Origin, SpaceX. How do they compare to a company like Virgin Galactic?
Very different, and I think it's important to step back and say this was a monumental achievement and a big milestone for the industry to see that it's maturing, and we're seeing a space company listed, one of these entrepreneurial space companies listed, but it is a human spaceflight company. Space is very broad. I mean, space is ingrained in our everyday lives. We use it. I used it to find my way here, even though I've been here a bunch of times. Yeah. We rely on it for everything. Space enables our global economy, and space is very broad. Each of those companies is doing something different. So SpaceX is taking us to Mars, and they're doing a lot of things to fund that ambition. Blue Origin is working to take our industry off planet, right, and is doing so by launching humans to suborbit and then to orbit eventually once they get to orbit. And Virgin Galactic is really focused on the suborbital space tourism and also the point-to-point, which, again, SpaceX is also offering a similar offering. Yeah. So I think that is a place in which the two would be competing probably head-to-head.
What do you think is going through Bezos' mind right now? Because we just showed a comparison, and again, we took this from the presentation documents for Virgin Galactic, and they only listed one competitor under the title limited competition, which is really only Blue Origin, and they said, look, they've been at this for 19 years, we've been doing for 15, we've got, rockets already, and they, have a reusable one, but, everything, as you can see, is just not as good as Virgin Galactic. Do you think Bezos was paying attention yesterday? Do you think he cares? What do you think is happening here?
I think that they're different experiences. So I've gone through the part of the training for the Virgin flights, and it's intense. It's a lot of fun. The G-force training that I did was quite intense, and so it is an exhilarating ride. You're going to go really fast, and you're going to be able to see the space from suborbit, and you're going to be able to see. I don't.
But you were just kind of testing.
I actually don't know which I would prefer. I do think that the Blue Origin has a really, in my opinion, has a really great offering as well. They have a big capsule. You launch up on a rocket, and then you've got a lot of room to sit and float around. You get a little bit more time up there as well.
Wait, I thought it was 90 minutes versus 11 in microgravity for Blue Origin, and then 5 for space for Virgin Galactic.
Both of these suborbit flights are very similar, so they're going to go up and kiss the edge of space.
Yeah.
You're going to get a few minutes to float around. But in Virgin, you're going up in a vehicle where you're in seats. The seats recline, and you get up and float around, and then you need to get back in your seat. Blue Origin is a similar thing, but it's got a dome shape that sits on top of a rocket.
Right. Last thing, Q3, your quarterly report just came out. I was fascinated by the top 10 space companies hiring here as well, because last time we talked about your job search tool, SpaceX dominating the listings. What's going on there?
Yeah, well, I mean, so they've gone through a few periods of not reinventing, but basically retooling their workforce, right? So they've gone from in the last 10 years, launching small rockets, launching their Falcon 9 rocket, gearing up for commercial crew. There's a lot of software engineering and a lot of people that are focused on the human spaceflight element. Then they're also building Starlink, which is a very different skill set. They opened up an office in Redmond, Washington, outside Microsoft to poach some of that software talent. And then now they're focused on Starship, and so they've geared up to have people focusing on that. They've got 2 teams competing to build competing starships to see which one is better in Florida and Texas. And now they're retooling as they gear up for operations for all of this. So it's a natural evolution, but I mean, they had 1,000+ jobs over the last year.
Right, yeah, and we appreciate you always updating us as well. Chad, thanks. Thanks for being on. Chad Anderson is the CEO of Space Angels, friend of the show. Thanks again.
Thank you.